What's up guys, I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. So of course, my plants have gone through a lot of changes in a year. From the beginning of the year to the end of this year, I picked 5 categories to kind of vote on my plants. There are going to be 3 plants in each category, and then of course the winner. The winner will get a cute little gold star, so it will be like my gold star plant of the year. Let's get started, let's dive in, and let's see what my best and worst plants were of 2022. So 2022 was the year for me to get wishlist plants. I started out with a wish list of 12-ish plants and some honorable mentions, and I kind of wanted to strictly just check off each of those plants every month. So this category is going to be the best purchase. This is going to be the best plant, in my opinion, on what I bought this year in 2022. So the nominees for best purchase plant are Calesia orbifolia, philodendron, white knight, and Anthurium crystallinum. So this plant is going to surprise you guys. I was doing a lot of thinking and I'm like, all right, I've bought a lot of really cool plants in 2022, but this plant really did stick out to me. So the winner of the best purchase plant is my Calesia orbifolia. I love this plant. So this plant has grown for me so well. I'm trying to get it stable. This plant has grown for me so well, and it's just been such a good plant. It's a Calesia, so I knew that I was doomed for a hard time, but this plant has been nothing but good. So this plant gets a little gold star. I'm gonna just place some right on the planter. So this is going to sit on here until the new year, and then the gold stars are gonna come off and we will restart completely next year. But guys, I mean, this plant has just been, it's been very easy. It's one of those plants that will let you know when it needs to be watered, but honestly, the only thing that I've been doing it that's kind of special is watering it with purified or distilled water. Sometimes if I can't find purified or distilled water, for some reason I can't find distilled water in my grocery stores. They've just been sold out, so I've been buying purified. And when that is sold out, I use filtered water. But this plant has just been such a good grower. It's huge. It's so big now. I can't. So this is definitely the best purchase and probably one of the cheaper purchases of 2022. And this was one of the plants that I was most excited about checking off my wish list. So the next category for 2022 is the plant with the most growth. Now I had to do some research for this. I had to go back and I had to kind of check to see, okay, where was this plant in the beginning of the year? Where was this plant in the beginning of the year? This plant just stuck out to me. So the nominees for best growth are my Hoya fishtail, my Anthurium vitatariifolium, my philodendron cream splash. Guys, this one was a hard one to do. Like I said, I had to go back and I had to check all 3 of those plants and just see which one grew the most. So the winner of best growth in 2022 is my Hoya polyneura fishtail. This plant started out with just these 2 leaves, just these 2 cuttings in February. And now I have all of this growth and even a new little growth coming in right here. It's just been such an easy plant and it's just been popping off. It's really been growing so well. Care-wise, I mean, it sits under my grow lights and I water it, once a week, once every 10 to 12 days, I'll kind of water it. And it just does so well. It's honestly a really easy Hoya. I mean, I feel like most Hoyas are pretty easy, but this one by far is my easiest. It's just been such a good and rewarding plant. So if you are looking to get a Hoya fishtail and you can only find a little cutting of it, get it, because trust me, within a couple of months, you'll get tons of growth. I can't believe where this plant started from and now it's at this point. I mean, I went through my Instagram and I found like all the pictures of it progressively getting longer and bigger. And I think next year I'm probably going to trim it, probably cut it at some point to fill out this pot and kind of obviously promote more growth through the top and kind of fill it out and make it a lot more bushy. This one gets a gold star on its planter until the new year. This next category, we're gonna switch up gears a little bit and I'm gonna talk about the most dramatic plants in my collection. These plants were the 3 plants that I was like, I questioned my entire abilities to grow plants. The nominees for the most difficult plants are Alocasia zebrana, Philodendron brandy, my Philodendron micans. I had to go back and I had to see where these plants were and where they are now, and if they are A, still alive, B, have grown at all, or C, maybe have gotten smaller. So the winner for most dramatic and difficult plant is my Philodendron brandy. Oh gosh, this plant was booming in the beginning of the year and kind of toward the middle of the year. And now we have 4 leaves. We have a 5th one coming in and a couple coming in the top. It's honestly started growing since I put it in pond, but it is just such a difficult plant. So you get a gold star for the most difficult plant in my collection. So I feel like the pond has really helped kind of bring it back a bit. I'm not 100% sure. This plant has just been super difficult. And I know you guys also have trouble with your Philodendron brandy, so I know that it's not just me and you're not alone. These are very hard to care for plants. I have a lot of philodendrons in my collection that are very picky. They get stuck no matter how much water and humidity I give them. Like my Philodendron soderoy is kind of in the same realm, but it does grow a little bit better than this has. But hopefully next year I will have this as like my best comeback, but who knows? I mean, I don't even know. It's just, it's cute, it's doing its thing, but it's just so underwhelming and it's not grown at all this year. So the next category for 2022 is the biggest comeback. So this plant is going to be the plant that either struggled toward the beginning or middle of the year and has bounced back dramatically. This is a plant that is maybe growing really well and didn't grow before, or you know, this or that. There were a lot of kind of things that I had to consider when choosing 3 plants for this category. So the 3 nominees for the biggest comeback is Alocasia michelitziana, my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and Anthurium luxurium. I'll put it up here. All 3 of those plants have kind of, like I said, they either haven't grown or whatever. Hopefully next year, like I said, my brandy will be in this category, but who knows. But so the winner for best comeback of 2022 is my Alocasia michelitziana. Oh, such a pretty girl. Put that gold star on her. Beautiful. She earned it. She so earned that gold star. So I think it was my corm video. Let's just say it was my corm video. I will research it and I will put it up here. But in one of my videos, I basically was like, all right, we gotta rehab her. And I took out some corms. Those are growing really, really well. But I took out some corms and it was kind of my little insurance policy because this plant was not doing well. I wound up moving it from a brighter spot into a little bit of a lower light area and it was hating it. It was so unhappy. It was okay for like a couple of months and then it really started to show, like it dramatically just kind of just falling apart, honestly. It started to flower, which was kind of a cool thing to see, but once it flowered, it like went haywire. The leaves were getting yellow and dropping. It completely just was not happy. And I immediately cut that flower off because I just don't like flowers on my plants. I want more foliage. I don't really, need the flowers. I don't pollinate any of my plants, so I don't really need that anyway. So basically what I did is I repotted it, I cleaned it up, and I kind of, put it in a sunnier area, and it was a 1-leaf little cutting. And now we have 4 really big leaves. I actually just cut 2 leaves off of it that were starting to kind of get yellow. It's been pretty cold here, so it's, they're not loving it, but I'm trying to keep it as warm as I possibly can. But this alocasia has bounced back so much. So when I chopped it, like I said, it had 1 leaf, and after I chopped it, I repotted it. I kind of also, because I chopped so much of this plant, I repotted it way down into the soil. So the stem's probably honestly kind of toward the bottom of this pot. And I was like, it's going to root. If you place that down in there, that whole big stem will create roots. So that's what I did. And it did. It created really great roots on there. So then what I did was, after that, I just started to notice this 1 leaf coming in. So I had that 1 leaf, and I had another leaf coming in, and it was huge. It was so big. And ever since I've moved it, these leaves have gotten ginormous, huge leaves. So I may not have a ton of leaves, but they're big and they're super happy, and I could not be any more proud of this plant. I'm just so happy that this plant bounced back. Before I even did that alocasia video, I was on Etsy and plant shops online just looking for another one because I really wanted one. But this one, I was like, no, wait and see if it comes back, who knows? And it did. So I'm really happy, and I'm really proud of where this plant has come in just a short amount of time. So the next category is the easiest plant of 2022. Now, I had 3 plants in mind for this category, but I really had to kind of deep dive into the year and really think, okay, did this plant have any issues during the year? Whether it be pest, or it root rotted, or dried out too much, or whatever. I had to really deep dive and find out how this plant was through the whole year. Because right now, all 3 of these plants are my easier plants. But I tried to think of the whole year as a whole, so I was trying to figure out what is truly my easiest plant of 2022. The nominees for easiest plant of 2022 are Monstera deliciosa, the Scandapsus exotica, and Hoya pubicalis. And the winner of the easiest plant of 2022 is my Hoya pubicalis. Look at this beauty. Ah. I almost chose this one as my best growth because it's really starting to trail and get crazy. But I'm telling you, I was just talking about how easy Hoyas are, and it was funny because in the back of my mind I'm like, I have an easy Hoya as my easiest plant. So this one gets a gold star. So proud of this plant. Oh. And also, I don't know what has happened within the last couple of weeks, but look at these leaves. Look how big they are. What the heck? They just started to get huge, and I'm like, this is so great. I'm so happy. They're so splashy and beautiful. I'm just absolutely loving Hoyas lately. It's crazy. And also, so this was a long runner, and what I did was I wound up wrapping it around the pole of my plant shelf, and it wound up giving me these little leaves. So I have this long little runner that I'm hoping will give me some new leaves soon. I have it kind of wrapped around a mirror stand that's on my shelf, so hopefully it will give me new growth. But This plant is such an easy plant. It literally never needs anything. I almost never water it. Like it just sits there and it just grows. It's never had any pests. Hopefully it's never had any pests, but it's never had any pests. It's never really dried out too much. It's never root rotted. It's never been a picky plant. It's never. And I've had Hoyas root rot. I've had Hoyas give me trouble with light and everything like that, but this Hoya has just been such a good plant. So this last category is going to be the plant of the year. So this is going to be the plant that has just been outshining all plants throughout the year. Now, again, like every other category, I had 3 plants that kind of came into my mind when I was choosing the plant of the year. This was probably the hardest one for me to choose just because I have so many plants. You know, they've all come so far and they've all like done really, you know, great things this year. So it was so hard to choose what plant for the plant of the year, but here are the nominees for the plant of the year. Philodendron gloriosum, Alocasia zebrina, Monstera deliciosa. Now, if you were to ask me what the plant of the year was for everybody, like, you know, I do every year, like the beginning of the year, I do like the top plant predicted trends of every year. And I would say that the Monstera was probably the best plant for everybody. Everybody has a Monstera now, but that was probably the plant of the year. I was like seeing it all over the place. So the plant of the year for me has to go to my Philodendron gloriosum. Shocker, right? Like, not a surprise if you've been following along with my drama with this plant this year. And like, it's just growing and being so happy. But this plant has just been giving me so much growth. It gives me no trouble, really. Ever since I repotted it and it sort of started to establish into the pot. So the original issue that I had with this plant was it wasn't crawling, but now I have it crawling. So it's now like establishing into the soil and it's just been such a dream. This plant has just been so good. Like honestly, like you know, this plant 150% deserves this star of approval. This beautiful philodendron, I can't even imagine. I never thought that it would be at this point right now. Like I was just like, I'll be able to, you know, I'll be able to keep it alive. I'll be able to kind of revive it and hopefully it will survive. But I never thought I would have like all of these leaves. Like I'm gonna try to like pull it back so you guys can see it. But like, look how big it is. It's so big and lush and beautiful. Like I can't get enough of this plant. It's just been so rewarding and just so great. And honestly, probably one of my easier plants. It would have been a nominee for my easy plants if it wasn't the plant of the year. But of course, like I had to choose a gloriosum. It was like my #1 wish list plant last year. Like it's just, I love it so much. So this is the plant of the year. Such a beautiful plant. I'm just so happy on where it is now. So that's it, guys. Those are the little like award ceremony, or really just a way for me to wrap up the year and just kind of see where these plants have been and where they are now. It's always fun to document your plants in the beginning of the year and kind of see where they are at this point. I mean, that's kind of a great reason why I have my Instagram, is because I can kind of look back and see like my Hoya fishtail. That was such a cool experience to be able to kind of look back and see like, oh wow, like this plant I got in February, like, and now it's so big and it's so lush. So it's just really cool to kind of look back on your plants and see how much they've really grown, because sometimes it's hard to tell. I even notice a lot of growth when I leave like for trips and stuff like that. I'll come back and I'll notice growth, but day to day I don't ever really notice it. and more so when you look back on pictures on how small they were back then. So it's really cool to do. Let me know in the comments what your plant of the year was. Let me know what plant was the shiny, bright, like star plant of 2022. So that's it for today. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical and Happy New Year.